Chapter 7. Everyone has to face obstacles. Everybody has to face hurdles. It's what you do with those that determine how successful you're going to be. Craig Sager. Thorny Paths. My flight landed at the Dubai International Airport on a sweltering hot afternoon. The funny thing was, Dubai and Mumbai are such similar cities, yet I felt like I was stepping into a new world. Just like Mumbai, Dubai was sprawling, with elaborate roads, carefully designed immense buildings, and landscaping that spread greenery even in the midst of the desert. It was clear that Dubai had developed adhering to a plan in the past decade. This city, having already become an acclaimed mark internationally, had a melting pot of different communities. Just like Mumbai, there were street hawkers, but there was a conspicuous absence of narrow alleys, chawls, and clustered shops. And though there were crowds on the streets, there was no mayhem. Though there were flocks of people, there was no shoving and pushing, nor the familiar grumbling of move forward quickly. A prick to my expectations. Baba was not going to pick me up at the airport. He had already conveyed that. After finishing the immigration and customs procedures, I called Baba on the shop landline. I was hearing his voice after many months of separation. We were delighted to talk and listen to each other. Baba said, "Dada, I'm sending a vehicle over. You wait outside the terminal for 15 minutes. Hearing this, I was practically floated. Wow, a car for my welcome. What fun! But of course, it is not surprising. Baba is a businessman now. A car will of course be ready for the Crown Prince. With such pompous thoughts, I waited outside the airport for my car to arrive. In a short while, a vehicle pulled to a stop before me. I started with eyes wide open at my car, which was, in fact, a small van for carrying goods. The driver jumped out, asked my name, and gesturing to me, opened the door to put my belongings in the back. The van was fully loaded with bags and packets of various items. The driver somehow stuffed my bags in that heap. Since there was only a driver's seat in the van, he accommodated me beside him, and thus the royal car drove me to our shop. It was the first prick to my expectations. As the van stopped in front of our shop, I looked at it and got a second jolt of surprise which almost made me laugh. The entirety which I imagined to be a nice shop was actually the front portion of a small warehouse. A board above the door was the only indicator recognizing it as a shop. The back space was being used to store various food and grocery items. There also, most of the space was occupied with piles of bags, bottles, containers, and packets. Baba, the shop owner, was living in a small corner. He had a kerosene stove, some utensils for cooking his daily meal, and a mat to sleep. Baba had the habit of bathing with cold water throughout all seasons. His lifestyle was very simple and needs were limited. As I entered the shop, I saw Baba busy with customers. Baba glanced at me and came forward smilingly to greet me. I touched his feet and he affectionately took me into his arms. After all, a father-son duo was meeting after many months. Baba inquired about my journey and then directed me to put the baggage inside the warehouse. Since I was tired, I took a good rest. Late evening, Baba came in after finishing his routine work. He prepared dinner for both of us. To welcome my arrival, he himself prepared a delicious kheer, sweet semolina porridge, which was my favorite dessert. During the dinner, Baba gave me the first lesson in future discipline. He said, "Dada, thanks for coming here to assist me. But you should not boast here that you are the owner's son and mind your behavior all the time. As a novice, you will have to learn a lot from observations alone. To start with, help me in cooking. Initially, cutting the vegetables, washing the utensils, buying the bread, cleaning the house, and making the bed will be your responsibilities. You will not get homemade food here. Make it a habit to make do with what is available. Later, the entire responsibility of cooking will be yours. Once you get accustomed to these activities, I will think about teaching you shop management. I nodded at his order humbly as I always did. In our family, his words were final and unopposed. Boredom in the way. From the next day, I started working zealously. But a couple of days later, boredom began setting in. I only sat in the shop watching the customers and nothing else. In the evening, I bought bread from a nearby bakery. This bread was not sliced bread, but pita bread similar to a bloated roti. It is called khubus in Arabic. Baba would prefer eating a simple meal every day which consisted of rice, vegetable curry and khubus only. He would prepare the curry with whatever vegetables were available in the market. Sometimes, for a change, he would eat the rice with curd or milk. I found the meal tasty for a few days, but as it became routine, I got bored with the same 3 food items. I asked Baba to allow me to take some chutneys or pickles from the shop, but he simply refused it. I was initially annoyed with Baba's strange behavior, but at the same time remembered my Mumbai days. I would also cook simple food consisting of rice, curry, vegetables and chapati, but she would add varieties to them so skillfully and innovatively that every meal of ours was a tasteful treat. Here in Dubai, Baba was living a frugal lifestyle and eating the same monotonous food every day. I also remembered my childhood days at Shirkhed. Aji, Ajoba and I would eat either chapati dal or chapati curd daily. I had spent 4 years with such limited meals, and now in my teenage years also, I was going to face the same fate. These thoughts made me so edgy that I became homesick. Hardly some weeks had passed, and I had already begun feeling suffocated in Dubai. I couldn't go outside on the street as I was not familiar with the local Arabic language and my English was also poor. The fear of communication prevented me from mingling with other people. I could get a chance to speak in Hindi whenever any Indian came to the shop. But there also, I had to control my desire as Baba wouldn't like me to waste time chatting with the customers. In Mumbai, my routine had been completely different. I was used to the noisy but fast life of the city. I had a lot of friends and acquaintances there. Besides, as a salesman, I used to travel a lot and had gotten the chance to interact with a number of people. But here in Dubai, language was a major barrier for me to make new acquaintances. Working alone in the shop was like undergoing a punishment of solitary confinement. Besides, Baba also would talk to me very little, as he was a workaholic and a taciturn person by nature. Dubai's weather was another disappointing factor that added to my misery. Dubai, like Mumbai, is a seaside city, and hence the sultry, humid weather was the same, but Mumbai has the advantage of many green hills and mountains in its vicinity that contributes to moderating the weather. Dubai, on the other hand, is situated near a desert that starts right at the outskirts of the city. The weather shows 2 extreme ends. In the daytime, the temperature is blisteringly high, and hot winds extract all the enthusiasm from anyone who dares to loiter openly on the streets. At night, the weather is severely cold and the winds are freezing. Since I was not accustomed to such a sharp contrast in the weather, I got fed up of the radical temperature swings very early. The taste of food and drinking water was equally vapid for me. I was too shy to discuss my vexation with my father. Had I tried to express it, I was sure he would have definitely rebuked me on the spot by saying that since I had opted to come to Dubai of my own will, I should leave the land if it didn't suit me. Mind become determined. There was none around me with whom I could share my sadness. As overseas calls were expensive in those days, it was impossible for me to talk to I frequently. The only affordable mode of communication available for me was to write a letter. I was so homesick and lonely there that I wrote 10 letters to I throughout the month. In every letter, I relieved my mind to her. The tone of every letter was just the same. I miss you and Sanjay a lot, and I don't want to live here. I was expecting a sympathetic reply from her. At last, after 2 months, her reply came, but it was stern. She wrote, "Dada, I had already advised you to complete your graduation before going to Dubai, but you didn't heed my advice. I am surprised by your complaints. Remember your childhood days and the 4 years spent in Shirkher away from us. You adjusted to the situation then, even though you were a child. But now as a mature person, you are whining. It is ridiculous. Look at your father and think of how he has been managing things there alone and without any complaint. You ought to have the same patience." Ai's sharp words were a wake-up call. Her message aroused a feeling of self-reproach in my mind. An inner voice told me repeatedly, "It is undignified for a grown-up youth to cry like a child. Besides, you are the son of a soldier. You must have the spirit to fight against all odds and strive for victory. You have waited for the last 5 years to arrive here to make your long-cherished dream come true. And now, when destiny actually gave you that chance, you are running away from the responsibilities. What a shame!" Suddenly a spark ignited my mind. I wiped my tears and vowed to endure all hardships. I thought, if Baba at the age of his retirement can show the courage to enter business, why not me, who is in his 20s? I never wrote any letter of complaint to I after that. Tracing the alphabets of business. Next day, I daringly asked Baba for the first time in my life, "Baba, I have come here with a purpose and not for whiling away the time. I want to help you in the shop, but at the same time, my desire is to learn the technique of business from you. I have spent the full month doing nothing but serving the customers. You are also not teaching me. I am caught in a dilemma. I don't want to return to India, but I am also bored. Please tell me what I should do." I was prepared to hear a curt reply from him, but to my astonishment, Baba kept silently staring at me. After some moments, he thoughtfully said, "Look, Dada, this field of retailing is equally new to me. I myself am learning my lessons after stumbling and balancing. It will be better if a seasoned shopkeeper teaches you the techniques. You could get practical work experience through an internship in any superstore. I will surely help you with that." Although Baba was a small shopkeeper, he had a lot of acquaintances in Dubai's trade circle. He requested one of his friends to offer me a chance of internship in a big superstore. Baba warned me with joking words, "Dada, an intern, in other words, is a mere helper. You can learn a lot of shopkeeping lessons in such a big store. But watch your behavior so that no complaint will reach me." I nodded and started the work enthusiastically. Soon I realized that Baba was right. There is a lot of difference between managing a superstore and running a tiny grocery shop. As a helper, I worked in all sections of that superstore and eventually learned every aspect of the operations. I got a chance to handle various branded products. Previously, I had learned the door-to-door selling in Mumbai. Here in Dubai, I learned the skill of selling the products over the counter. It was amazing to understand how thousands of products are carefully stored and aesthetically displayed to attract the customers. Besides, I also learned stock taking, billing, and packaging. The greatest turning point in my life. I learned the first valuable lesson of successful business here. I enjoyed every work assigned to me except one. In packaging section, I would handle all merchandise, but strongly disliked the handling of frozen packages of beef and pork. I would feel nauseated and explicitly decline to touch the packages. My colleagues would often tease me for my habit. Somehow this news reached the owner of the store. One day he called upon me and asked the reason behind my refusal. I made it clear that being a Brahmin, my conscience and beliefs prevented me from touching the meats. On hearing this, the owner began to laugh. He gave me an important piece of advice by saying, "Young man, since the meat is coated with a wrapper, you are not touching it directly. I am also a staunch Jain vegetarian who abstains from eating even garlic and onions in everyday meals. But this is my business. Here customers' needs are to be given the highest priority. Hence, I don't bring my personal likes and dislikes into my store. Mind well that work is work only and should not be treated as a superior and inferior. Don't feel ashamed to do any kind of job. Remember that dedication and love towards our duty is the first step of success." His words were like an eye-opener and gave me a new insight. The incident also brought the greatest turning point in my life, and I realized the importance of toiling hard at any responsibility. Afterwards, I handled all kinds of meats and seafoods and never considered any work as a taboo. The lesson changed me so much so that when I returned to our shop after the internship, I humbly and proactively took up the responsibility of every hard work. I started my career with activities like cleaning the tiles, sweeping and washing the floor, loading, unloading 50 kg bags over the back, etc. I began enjoying the cooking and washing the clothes. Whenever Baba would go outside for purchase or recovery, I managed the customer service. Baba must have noticed my transformation and became satisfied within. But he didn't show any expression, as his was a grave and taciturn personality. As I was acclimatizing to Dubai life, I was unaware that slowly I was also falling in love with the city. Fall at the first hurdle. Baba had started the shop in January 1984 and I joined him in March. We were in an upbeat mood but unaware that failure was waiting to pounce on us. We stubbed our toe on the very first step and were humiliated, just like an opening batsman gets clean bowled on the first ball of the first over. It was so agonizing that we could hardly recover from it even after 3.5 years. When we made an assessment of our first year's income and expenditure, we got a shock. The figures were clearly indicating that our business was running into losses. It was really intriguing as our way of business was actually profitable and well conceived. We would import best quality merchandise of 50 kilos quantity from India and sell it in Dubai. It means purchasing in rupees and selling in dirham. The profit from the difference between the values of both currencies seemed attractive on paper, but in fact, we were in loss. The only reason behind it was the inflated and recoverable dues to us. It so happened that not only the retail customers, but some resellers also had started purchasing the products from our shop. Dubai is a cosmopolitan metro city, and besides India, aspirants from other South Asian countries also migrate here for employment. Some get jobs and some start little businesses. As the products in our shop were pure and of the best quality, some non-Indian people from the distant part of the city started purchasing them at wholesale prices and then reselling the items in retail, thus earning a good profit. These resellers would purchase the merchandise from us on credit. In a haste to expand the business, we provided the merchandise to them instantaneously but idled away the time to recover the dues with the same promptness. It was a big mistake. When we demanded our dues, Most of them cunningly avoided making payments under various excuses. We couldn't even argue with them, as they were sharp-tongued and dangerously hot-tempered. Moreover, it was stupidity to quarrel with strangers, and that too in a foreign land. Do not step back. Our situation soon became pathetic. Since Baba had invested his entire savings in the business, he had no reserves left to cover the loss. Impatiently, I advised him to wind up the business and return to India. I even assured him that I will get a job, work hard, and run the house. But Baba turned a deaf ear to my immature suggestion, as he was a soldier with a fighting spirit. He decided to take the bull by the horns. Baba made a last-ditch effort. He wrote to Ai back in Mumbai and sought her help. Ai, a woman of invincible confidence, sold every valuable item in the house, including furniture, TV, refrigerator, record player, and mixer. Her beloved assistant in the kitchen, which was a novel gadget then. She didn't hesitate to sell her entire jewelry, even her gold Mangal Sutra, wedding chain, and thus raised as much money as she could. She wired the amount to us. Meanwhile, Baba had borrowed some money from his friends and kept the shop running. The timely help received from Ai proved to be an elixir, and we got some breathing space. Baba once again equipped the shop with fresh stock of merchandise. We also changed our policy and stopped the supply of products on credit. We requested the customers to settle the outstanding immediately. As a result, we had to lose some unhappy customers, but overall, the shop began yielding some income regularly. I couldn't tolerate the shock of this incident and began to blame myself. Our naivety and negligence in the business had caused my mother to live frugally and in poverty again. Emotionally, I wrote a letter to her expressing my agony. Dear mother, you sold everything you had to save us from the crisis. You even sold your Mangal Sutra, an ornament which is an ever-precious and a lifelong asset to a woman. I can imagine your feelings. You might not have shown your tears to anyone, but as your dutiful son, I swear to return your entire jewelry one day. I will earn so much wealth in life that you and Baba will surely live a prosperous, peaceful, and contented life forever. I will not return home until I get back everything we have lost. As a reply, Ai sent me a concise letter. She convinced and revived us with a profound message. I am sure you will make your parents proud and happy. For a woman, nothing is more precious than her family, not even the gold and diamonds. Time changes. Hence, one should never give up his or her goals fearing obstacles. Do not retract the footsteps which you have put forward in business. If you work hard and honestly, the goddess Tulja Bhavani will surely bestow her blessings upon you. Those inspiring words ignited a spark of determination and vigor in me.